everybody. Big thank you to you for joining us tonight. Thank you for making it a date with me. I'm super, super excited. I'm grateful to each and every one of you for coming. I'm grateful. Thank you very much. So as we continue, I would love to share my screen. Okay, can everybody hear me? Are we still together?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see your
Can you see
screen.
my screen? Thank
Yes,
you
please.
very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm grateful. Okay, so this evening we'll be diving right into the topic for tonight, what we'll be discussing together, which is effective communication, saving your marriage through the not so little things. I know some people be wondering, like, can it really do much for me, my family? When you say the not so little things, I mean that if we begin to like do the little to become big, just like the adage that says little drops of water makes a mighty ocean. So it's little doings that now make it like a very big thing, and it now brings the results that we all desire. So Rome was not built in a day. So baby steps till we'll get the particular results that we want to see. So now breaking effective communication into little bits, what we can begin to do on a daily basis as couples. Even this can even work in your relationship that would, foster peace and, improve the quality of life that you live as a couple. So welcome everyone tonight, and I hope that you all have a nice time. Thank you. So my name is Tega Yodeji, and I'll be your facilitator for tonight's webinar. So let's get right into it. Now let's meet me. Meet me. I said before, my name is Tega Yodeji, and I'm the founder for Naturals Haven, a counseling company committed to seeing girls, women, and families thriving and living according to God's divine purpose. I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a public servant. I'm a lover of God, people, and elegant styling. I'm married and blessed with 2 amazing children. So introduction, what is communication? According to Pearson and Newton 2000, communication is defined as a process of understanding and sharing meaning. Newman and Sommer also define communication as an exchange of facts, ideas, opinions, or emotion between 2 or more people. And so I will not assume that everybody understands what this means. So I will just break it down. Everybody communicates. We talk. Let's just say we talk. Everybody talks. It's not a big word. Defined as a process of understanding and sharing meaning. Now, for meaning means different things to different people, depending on your experience, what you've been through in life, the good times, the not so good times, your beliefs, what has molded you and shaped you over the years. That's what I can, ascribe to meaning. And now, so Newman says communication is an exchange of facts, ideas, opinions, or emotions between 2 or more people. Aside meanings, we share facts. We can be gotten from information, ideas, opinion, what we think, what we know, emotions. So it's not just sharing words of mouth, through verbal communication. It could also be non-verbal, meaning that it could be your the way you feel, the way you perceive things. It could be, your gestures, and all of that. So now let's go into communication process. I hope you're following me. Please, if I'm going too fast, please let me know. I just don't want to waste our time. So to communicate effectively, that's, to communicate effectively, both in an organization, in your marriage, in your... Sorry, please let's mute our mics, please. Thank you. Whatever situation that we find ourselves, there must be a process to ensure effective communication. And so we have the sender, we have the message, we have the channel, and feedback. So now I didn't mention the encoding and decoding because it all has to do with both the sender and decoder. So now with the sender, the person, giving out the information. That's the person sharing the information. That's the sender. And that person encodes the message. That person understands the message, before the message can be passed. So the message is that particular thing. We said that it could be an idea, it could be a fact, it could be a piece of information that you want to relay to another person who is the receiver. So that is what the message is, the content of information that is going out, to the next person. So a sender can be sending messages to one person, two people, more than one person. So it's not necessarily just one person. It could be different people at a time, just like we have in organizations or maybe meetings, in boardrooms and all of that. So the receiver is, okay, now I jumped the channel. The channel is the medium through which, that message is passed. It could be in form of, it could be through your radio, your emails, text messages, phone calls, and any other medium. And the receiver is the person who the message is directed to. So this person decodes the message too. Then we have the feedback. After the sender sends the message itself has gone out, the channel through which the message has been sent, the receiver receives the message. Now the last, I won't even call it the last process. The next process is the feedback. And feedback here means that it gets to the final point where the message has been received, and has been successfully transmitted and understood. So the receiver gets the message, and decodes the message, more or less like explains, what he or she has understood, that has been passed to that person. And so after that, we now have the noise. Noise could be in any form, and noise could just be a form of interference during communication process. So it could be technical issues, it could be, what else can I say? Technical issues, it could be lack of attention or focus, it could be anything. And so that's what the communication process is all about. So in noise, let me go. For noise now, if I really want to go deep into noise, I would say that, there are different types and, causes for noise in communication. And, it all depends on, where you are, maybe the situation that is surrounding you, and any other thing. So I said it could be technical noise, it could be emotion issues, psychological issues, it could be how the person perceives things, it could be a perceptual noise where how the person views the world or interpret things, where we have different viewpoints, on how we see life or, any other thing. It could be cultural noise where there's a lack of similarities. We all have different cultures and the way we see things in our various cultures. It could be linguistic barriers, arising from maybe poor language, spelling, pronunciation, lack of knowledge of the language of a community, accents, where someone is trying to speak a different type of language that you don't understand or it's not well audible. So we have 4 types of communication. We have verbal communication, we have non-verbal communication, we have visual, and we have written communication. Verbal communication most times often have to deal with a face-to-face communication, could be a one-on-one type of communication. Are we together? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes,
We can hear you.
thank you. It could be a Zoom meeting, it could be over the phone, it could be a Skype meeting. And so that's what the verbal communication is all about. So non-verbal has to do with facial expressions, postures, eye coordination, hand movements, This is what the non-verbal communication is all about. Most times, all these things happen during conversations with people. And so the written communication is always in written form. It could be the use of your email, feedback, where you type or send a message to somebody. It could be a tweet, could be a post, a Facebook post, and others. And the visual communication is used to convey meaning. This could be in form of a video, a photograph, or, pictures. Now let's go into communication barriers, which I have explained already. So we have physical barriers, we have psychological barriers, we have perceptual barriers, we have cultural barriers, we have linguistic barriers. So I'm just trying to bring us into just trying to make everybody familiar with what most of us already know, before we dive right into why we are here. So now let's do this. Conflict in marriage. And I'm really focusing on assumptions today because I know it's one of the most common, um, one of the most common issues that we all have, in our marriages, even in our relationship, And when I say conflict in marriage, I mean, those issues, those things that spring up, that cause division, that cause arguments, that cause fights, that can cause war between man and woman as a couple or boyfriend and girlfriend, in a relationship. And so if we really want to achieve the peace, that we desire in our marriages, it will be very, very good on our part if we begin to look into communication. Conflict in marriage is wide, it's very, very broad. And even if we're not able to touch everything, we know that there are many reasons why we have issues or conflicts in our marriages. Most of the common things could be as a result of maybe sexual related issues, intimacy, cases of intimacy. We have cases of finance, financial issues, and we have communication. So these three are very, they are the very common reasons why couples have conflict or experience conflict in their marriages. These are like just some out of them, not all, because like I said, it's broad. If you really want to go deep into it, there are reasons. If you begin to bring couples out now to ask why they feel they have, challenges or issues in their marriage, we get different views and opinions. And so I'm just giving like examples on things that can bring about challenges, conflict in marriage. So before a man and a woman came together as husband and wife, they all had their different opinions about life. They all had the experiences that shaped them, before coming together. And all these things come to play on our makeup, how we are built, how we begin to reason, how we begin to see life, how we begin to do things. All these things, they shape us, they mold us. So if you're coming together to be one with somebody, you cannot assume that that person is like you. We are two different kind of people. And so communication is deeper than many of us think. And it goes a long way to see that our marriages either thrives or fail. So like I said, our makeup, our build up, from experiences that we've had in life, maybe our childhood, uh, um, our thoughts, our beliefs, these are the things that shape us, that mold us to begin to think a certain type of way. And if we don't begin to like look at, all these things, we will not be able to get the root cause of some of the issues that we have in life. And so just like the onion bulb that has different parts, all these things are more or less like internal filters, that make who we are. They consist of our upbringing, our environment, our significant emotional experience. If I ask one or two people, how their childhood was like, and they begin to share their story, you will see that all of us cannot be the same. We are all different. Please mute your mic. Thank you. We are all different. And so all these things sum up. They actually have a role to play in the things that we do in life.
So to start with, to start with, what do you understand by the word skill? skill?
Please let's mute our mics. So these are, that cause some of the challenges that we face in our marriages. According to researcher Christine David, he said couples who struggle with, can we see my screen, please?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay. Said couples who struggle with lack of communication in relationship usually experience ongoing unresolved conflicts, making it difficult to manage stressors such as finances, sexual intimacy, children, parenting, and work. And the truth of the matter is, it is easy to talk, everybody wants to talk, but not everybody communicates. So it's easy to talk, but it's intentional work to communicate. That's what I actually wrote down here. It is easy to talk. Anybody can open their mouth and say, one or two things, but it's the major reason why we talk most times in order to get feedback. So you cannot expect somebody to just say one word. Okay, let's say we are in a room of about 5 people, and the sender, the one who encodes the message, just says something, and we are like, what are you saying? Nobody will be able to leave that room fulfilled. But when the sender gives a particular information and everybody in the room understands what is being said, there will be no issues. So it's as little as that. And that's why I said to communicate effectively is intentional work. You must be ready to do the work as a couple. You must be ready to do the work. Nobody can do it for you. And the little things that we do, like we said earlier, bring about the result and the desire that we want to see as a couple. No one wants to be seen as a fighter in the marriage. But these things happen, except we want to pretend or lie to ourselves. Nobody wants to be seen as a fighter, the one who nags the most. And that's why we must begin to settle ourselves and work on our communication, begin to have effective communication in our homes. Gone are the days when people bottle up issues, challenges, where couples suppress their emotions and repress them because they don't want issues, And the truth is that when we begin to have healthy conversations with one another, when we are able to tell ourselves the truth, when we're able to speak from our mind, our hearts, the things that are going on our, on our inside, it helps our marriages, to even thrive. Because like I said, we are not the same. But when you bottle things up and you say you will not speak, it can even add more issues, to what you're going through in your marriage already. So the idea tonight is begin to change the narrative. You already, made known narrative that one should just keep quiet about things and not share. We can actually begin to speak and communicate well in our marriages to ensure that we have, amazing and lasting marriages. And so there is need to learn communication skills. These skills could be as a result of, so many things. Like I said, it's intentional work. It could be from active listening. You listen to your partner well, or you just jump right in when he or she is speaking. Are you present? Are you focused during conversations, or you're on the phone, while your partner is speaking? Do you even wait to does your partner ensure or the sender ensure that the receiver gives the feedback that they actually understood what was being said during conversations? Do we even study the tone of our partner when our partner is speaking to know what could be the challenges that they may be going through, even through their voice? Is as simple as that. Those are little things that we need to begin to pay attention to that will help us thrive in our marriages. Remember, our focus is on communication. Now, how many of us actually read the room before we communicate or speak? Or we just speak out of anger? How many of us even, wait for our partners to speak before we begin to complete their sentences? Most of these things happen from when we are these things arise from when we are stressed. It could be when we are experiencing maybe trauma or any form of psychological issues. And so we must begin to sit down and do the work as a couple to see that we all communicate effectively. Now, why is effective communication important in any relationship? Let me go back to my slide. So sorry. I want to carry everybody along. So sorry. Please, can we just make it known in the comment section? Can you see my screen? Please, let's mute our mics, please. Thank you. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Let's see my screen. So sorry, everybody. Can't see my screen. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for following. So I said, why is effective communication important in any relationship? It improves the well-being of both partners. It enhances marital satisfaction. It also promotes intimacy and sexual connection. It shows a united front to children and external parties. It promotes longevity. We all know that when we have issues in our marriages and we're able to communicate effectively, we go to bed happy. I don't know if anybody's with me here. There's this joy that you've settled that particular issue, that may be rising in your marriage or, between your partner. It improves the well-being of both partners. You feel good. There is no anger or emotion that you locked up, that that you've locked up inside of you. It gives you confidence. You can speak with your partner knowing that all is well, and it even enhances and promotes intimacy and sexual connection. You're able to speak your mind and tell your partner what you want without being shy or even angry. How many of us have observed that when there are no issues in our marriages, we are closer to our spouses than we used to be? But when the fight comes and we are torn apart, everything just, scatters. And so that's why we must begin to take our communication seriously. Even if you have children, when your children begin to see that, mommy and daddy are fine, it also helps them. They bond well with you. You can play, you can go out, you can speak, everything just works well when the communication in our marriage is amazing. And so some of the signs to note that our marriage lacks effective communication: one, you both are drifting apart and are resentful to one another. You always feel hopeless about your relationship. Both parties are always defensive. I give a scenario. Before your partner speaks, you're already thinking of how you will act and what you will say, from a place of anger. And that's because those particular issues have not been talked through. You've not spoken about it. You've not even allowed it to, you've not brought it up. You've not spoken about it. And so everywhere is just hot. I just want us to be very real, tonight, and genuine. Another thing is you're always stressed even before communicating with your spouse. Should it even be a big deal that before you speak with your spouse, you're already angry? I don't want to have this conversation. I'm just tired. I don't want to talk to him, and all of that. So it's good for us to begin to take time to do these things. Now, let's take a quiz. Wherever you are, please get a sheet of paper. And please don't be shy. I can't see your paper. I just want you to do it with me. So write down 5 things you know about your spouse. This can be their love language, their best food, their color, their hobby, and any other thing. And after this session, please verify if he or she still feels the same about your answers. So do this in the next 2 minutes, please. Write. I can't see you, but I know you're writing. Please write. Take the quiz. Take the quiz, please.
2 minutes.
5 things you know about your spouse. Five things you know about your spouse. Their love language, their best food, color, hobby, whatever it is. I'm waiting. If you're done, please write done. If you're done, please write done. If you're done, please write done. Okay, thank you. So let's move on. Let's fix this. How many of us genuinely know our spouse? Like, you know your spouse? How many people? If I'm to ask you or have a one-on-one with you, do you really know your spouse? We just took a quiz now. Do you really know your spouse? You know, what's your wife, you know, or your husband's love language? Do you even know their color, their best color? Do you know their hobby? Do you know their best food? What are the things that you know about your spouse? Do you know your spouse well enough? Can you speak well for your spouse in public or in the open? And you'll be very sure. If you had to take have a game now, a couples game, or you know, we're in a gathering and they bring you out, are you sure you're able to beat your chest and say, yes, I know my spouse well? Do you know their mood? Thank you. Thank you, Miss Greenhead. So many of us know our spouse well. So our first on this list is please know your spouse more. Be interested in knowing your spouse more. It's not something that you should do just at the beginning of marriage, to be like an every time thing. Keep reviewing it because these things change from time to time. You cannot just conclude that because your spouse loved eating a certain type of food at the first day of your marriage, in the first day of your marriage, that means that's what he or she still likes. You must begin to like do the work to know their likes, their dislikes, how they want to be read, their love language. There are so many things that we need to know about each other. You know, their mood. Can you read your partner's mood? Do you know when to ask questions? Do you know when to be alone? Do you know how to even get your spouse to laugh? You know, just be in the mood. Let's know our spouse more. The second thing I wrote is set up an accountability system in your home. So I don't know what it is. You can have days where you come together to just talk, you know, just bond, just talk, say what's on your mind, at least with your emotions in check. Be sure that you're in a good frame of mind and you can control your emotions. Just talk, express your mind, how you feel, how things are going on in the family. It's just a way of, you know, just keeping the two of you in check. Without the children being there, you can talk about it, you know. Can have days where you just hang out, just the two of you, and just talk about the things that are going on in your home. So 3, you have to be emotionally intelligent. We all have our different personalities. And like I said, if you know your spouse more, you will know how to tread. Tread softly or carefully with your spouse. Number 4, before I get to eliminate assumptions, 5 says practice active listening. Many of us, because we are angry, we just jump into conversations or conclusions without even knowing what's on our partner's mind. We cannot just assume. or just communicate from a place of anger. There are times we need to calm down and just listen to what he or she has to say in order to have, to communicate effectively. There are times we just need to listen. I myself started practicing it. I became more intentional, and I think I'm getting better by the day. Listen to your partner. Listen to what he or she has to say. Don't be too angry that you don't listen. Just listen. There are times all our spouse wants is just for us to listen. So are you really listening to your spouse, or you just want to be the one to talk? So there are times we have to sit down and listen to our spouse. To you, they might be saying rubbish. Just listen. This will also help us to go far in and thrive in our marriages. Practice, eliminate assumptions. And this is where I really want to go deep into tonight, which is assumption. I want to give a brief scenario. I am at home and I tell my husband that I'm tired. I don't think I can even cook. I don't think I'll be able to cook for you people this night. And he just comes and he says, please, I want to play this scenario, and I would want us to share in the chat, in the comment section. I want to hear your view once I'm done. And I tell my husband that I don't think I'm cooking this night, That was all I said. And my husband just says, darling, I'm going to get my haircut though. And I say, okay, bye-bye. Next, this is the next line. Please listen, listen. And I say, are you going to pass tasty fried chicken? And he says, yes, I will pass. Okay, it's the same way now. The road that leads to the house, the same way to the barbering salon. And I say, okay, that was all. My husband gets back from the barbering salon and he's saying, good evening. The next thing I say is, did you buy food? What did you get for the children? What are we going to eat this night? And he's like, but you didn't say anything now. And as a woman, I'm speaking for the women here, I just get angry and I flare up. You don't care about me. You didn't even think of me. This is a typical issue that many of us I've just painted a scenario that happens in most homes. Now, as a woman, yes. I just feel that it does not care about me, but I did not communicate.
Yes.
I did not communicate. I didn't tell him what exactly I wanted him to do. But I'm angry as a woman that he doesn't care about me. Meanwhile, I did not tell him what I really wanted him to do. And so the fight has started. I begin to nag, and one thing is another, it becomes a very big issue. From when I could have just said, sweetheart, on your way from getting your haircut, please, can you just branch at Tasty Fried Chicken and get us our dinner? And everything will just be fine. But I just assumed that I communicated. Meanwhile, my receiver did not even get, maybe he was not even listening. Imagine what started the conversation. I'm tired, I will not be able to cook this night. And he says, I'm going to the barbing salon to get my haircut. Please. Is there any, there's no relation there. It doesn't relate at all. So I could have as well just asked, on your way going, will you be able to get us food? And we'll go to bed happy. Everything will be fine. But something is missing. I did not communicate well, and I'm angry. I'll play another scenario. Probably you've had trust issues in your marriage. Maybe your husband or your wife cheated on you, or some sort of conflict, and you are at a gathering, maybe your family gathering. For some people that believe that maybe their wives or their husband does not like being in their family gathering, and is coming from a different place, you're already there, you're waiting for him to come. Maybe your dad is the one having his birthday party, let's say 70th birthday party, and you begin to send a message. You don't just like relating with my family, every time. Meanwhile, should I tell you what the man was doing or the woman was doing? He or she stopped at a cake store to get a cake for your father, and you are there already nagging. What is wrong if you ask, you start your conversation by, sweetheart, the party is about to start, or we've started. Please, where are you? From there, I'm in so place. without you concluding that your husband or your wife does not want to be in that gathering. And you know, little sparks, issues will just spring up. And these are some of the things that we go through in our marriages on a daily basis. So why can't we begin to communicate well without assuming? Let's even say you people have had trust issues, maybe due to extramarital, affairs, and it can still be, some things can still work out. I'm not trying to support it here, but I'm saying that communication can help it a great deal. It can do a lot in that marriage to restore or revive that marriage that's about to crash. One word from the heart that means well can do a lot in our marriage. So instead of assuming, and we say that assumption is the lowest level of knowledge. I know many of us believe in having intuition, that sometimes these things actually happen. In your mind, you're just playing the scenario. Or as children of God, the Holy Spirit reveals to you. Wisdom is still needed during these particular issues. One form of assumption is assuming that they know what you will need. You assume that your partner knows what you need. Is not always the case at all times. He might not even know. And this thing leads to unmet expectations and causes misunderstandings and arguments in our marriages. So why can't you just ask instead of concluding? Number two is assuming their intentions. Where I gave, a scenario of your husband coming late from work, and you just assume that maybe he branched. I don't know why I'm saying husband, or maybe because I'm a woman. Please, the men here, I'm not using it to spite you or rub it in your face. I'm just speaking from the view that I'm, very familiar with. And you just believe that your husband maybe branched or stopped at a place to maybe watch his favorite sport. Or why can't you just ask, where are you? Instead of assuming. Even if you've had trust issues before, these are the two things that can begin to help our marriages thrive. Number three, let me even give a scenario. I can remember a particular time when my husband came back from work and I checked his cooler. As a woman, you know how annoying it can be when your spouse comes back, your husband comes back from work and he doesn't finish his meal. And you're like, after all the stress I've been through since morning, and this guy did not even eat his food. And I was angry. I entered that mood. And I think I just had to cool down and calm myself down. Guess what? He had been through a very rough day. He didn't even have time to eat. And I was sober. Why would I think that my husband doesn't want to eat my food? Even if we are fighting, it's hunger. It's not that deep, And I had to apologize that night that, I'm sorry you went through this. I'm sorry for reacting. So there are times we have to be very sensitive. We calm down. Instead of reacting, we respond. And these things help our marriages and our communication. Number three is assuming their preferences. Like I said, we must continue to go back to ask questions. When I said, what's your husband's favorite color? His best food and all. These things, they are likely to change from time to time. So don't assume that as it was in the beginning. You can still ask questions. These things will help our communication and help our marriages thrive too. They help to spice up things. So you are sure of, who your husband or your wife is. So from time to time, we should ask questions, engage in asking questions to know who your spouse is or what he or she likes. So don't assume their preference. Even, know what they like, know their dislikes and all of that. The next one is assuming that they are responsible. Assuming their responsibility at home. I'm a woman and my children have lots of assignments. If we've not talked about it, my husband may not know where he should come in. He might just assume that, Tega can do it. Meanwhile, I'm tired and I can't do it. What's wrong if I ask that, sweetheart, please, can you just help the children with their assignments today? And everything is fine. But I'm just angry and I say he doesn't care. Meanwhile, he's there watching his favorite movie on Netflix and I'm angry. I've not communicated. I'll be the one that will have the headache. I'll be the one that will be angry on myself. He will keep watching his movie, and when it's time for eating, he will ask for his food. And life goes on like that. So we should begin to ask and communicate with our spouse. Assumptions it does not do us well in our marriage. It doesn't help our marriages thrive. It causes a lot of kata. Permit me to use that word in our marriages. The fifth one is assuming what they mean. I know I said before that meaning to everybody is different. For psychologists, I can sit down now and say, I'm seeing a star. Meanwhile, Mrs. Queenet is seeing the moon. It all depends on what you've been through in life. Some people have gone through serious trauma in their childhood, that everything that their spouse says, what they think is just different. You know, maybe he's saying, I love you. To them, it's not I love you. Even as girlfriend and boyfriend, while dating, it could just be that this one is just even giving nice service. It doesn't mean it. Some people have that background. They don't believe in that kind of thing. So meaning to everybody is different. Why not communicate to have to get the feedback that you actually desire, to be sure that that person understands what you are saying. There's nothing wrong in having a detailed conversation to hear what your partner has to say in return. And so it would be good if we begin to ask, okay, this is what I said. What do you really mean? There are times that instead of communicating or saying what that person means, we are communicating our insecurities, our hurts, our pain, and we begin to get defensive when actually there is no problem at all. These are little things that happen on a daily basis. Now, the sixth one is heal. For those that may have gone through traumatic, situation or have very serious issues, maybe your childhood while growing up, whatever, please heal. If you can take counseling sessions, please go for it. The world is a better place when we all heal. Not bring your challenges aside the home front, to take it out again, even to your places of work. And you can't even communicate or associate with people. So it would be good if we begin to be intentional about healing. Make that effort to heal from whatever pain that is holding you back from being a better version of yourself as an individual. Because healing is personal. You must heal on your own before you bring your complete whole self to the marriage. And if you're already in your marriage, healing does a whole good for us. There are little things that might have transpired between yourself and your spouse. And if you are the type that cannot take it, that pain will lead to something else. It could even lead to sicknesses or diseases in your body. So it will be good if you take time to heal. And we cannot do this alone. Please seek help. Don't be quiet. We cannot do life alone. Nobody is perfect. Nobody can do life alone. We need each other. Seek counseling. Get therapy. And if you're a Christian, pray about it too. You can share. A problem shared is half solved. It still works. We still have good people. So don't just assume that the world is a wicked place and I will not speak about my challenge. Talk to people about it. Don't assume, and with that, the world will be a better place for each and every one of us. Now I'll conclude. Let's round up. Communication skills and new behaviors can be learned in marriage. It's not enough to know. You must begin to take action by implementing what has been learned. The truth of the matter is, it will not be easy at first, but with time to get better and with intentionality on our part, it will be worth it. There's nobody here there's no normal human being that likes war, except that person is mad. There's no normal human being that wants to just go to bed angry with his or her spouse. I don't like going to bed angry with my spouse because it affects me. I don't know about you. So people can keep malice. What's the point when you have someone that you love, that you can hug, that you can play with, aside your extended family or friends, and you are still carrying, pain and anger in your mind? You cannot tell the person how you feel. I don't think there is any need for that. Why are you now together? It will not be easy at the beginning because it is intentional work. We all have lapses day in, day out, areas where we need to improve. But if we begin to listen to what our spouse is saying per time and just get involved, be present. Let it be your point of duty from today to see that your marriage works with what you say, with how you speak to your spouse, with how you listen. You're talking with your spouse, your phone can stay. Phone is a big challenge, but we can work it out. If you're the type that your spouse needs your full attention, he wants to see you, he wants to see your face, why not do it for those few seconds and arrive at a better conclusion, and just have a thriving home, family that people want to emulate. So I would say it's not going to be easy at the beginning, but it is possible. We can all communicate effectively. We can all have amazing relationship with our spouse. We can all go to bed without getting angry, and we can even talk things over. And when we do this, our children are watching, and they are picking these things. I was in a webinar on, was it Wednesday or Thursday? One of my mentors was talking about being a role model. When we are communicating effectively with our spouse, our children are learning from us, and we are not passing the pain to them. And it makes the world a better place. So this is where I'll draw my curtain tonight. I don't know how tonight's webinar went for you, but if you gained anything, please will you let me know in the comment section. What would you be doing going forward to see that your marriage, gets better as it goes on and on and on? Are we going to eliminate assumptions and begin to work it out with our spouse? Let me know in the comment section, please. What would you be doing differently with your husband, with your wife? No more assumption. Thank you. This is Queenette. Thank you so much. No more assumptions. We can do it. It is possible. It is doable. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you so much. I don't know if anybody has questions for me. I would love to take your question and answer them. It's possible to have a thriving relationship with your spouse. It's possible to be a role model to your children, even to those around you. Marriage is work, and intentionality is key. It's something we must do on a daily basis to see that our marriages get better. Like I said, don't forget your open days or feedback days where you just meet your spouse and just talk. Just talk. You can go out. You can just have a time alone. Just talk about it. It's possible. Thank you, Mrs. Queenette. It's possible. I will say exactly what I mean. Yes, without concluding in our hearts and painting a scenario that is not even happening. If you have anybody that wants to write anything or say something, you can unmute, you can ask your question. I'm here to answer you. Any question for me? I hope we all enjoyed ourselves. I hope you learned one or two things tonight. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Mrs. Uzoma says, wonderful class, no more assumption. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. So if you don't have any other question coming for us, who would like to say one or two things? Can unmute and speak. Okay.
Hi there.
I'm with you. I'm with you. You can speak.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for the session. Thank you. I just want to say that it's very important in every human relationship, right, that we communicate clearly and effectively. It's just about, ensuring that the other party knows what is in your heart, and understands how you feel at times. It's always difficult if you're dealing with someone that you think you already know. Maybe because you lived with this person for 6 years, 8 years, or maybe this person is even your mother, and the person has never disappointed you before in their actions, and it's always difficult when it's that kind of person because we just sit down and preempt and we assume, like say, but thank you for letting us know that we should not do that. We should not answer all the questions by ourselves in our mind. But regardless, we should ask, and allow people to express themselves while we also do. Thank you. I enjoyed.
Thank you. Thank you, Lillian. Thank you so much. So Tolu, please, would you unmute and ask your question?
I was asking if there are any tips for communicating verbally for a person that expresses better in writing or text. I'm going to pull you.
Okay. For communicating verbally, the truth is, should I be sincere with you? It's not everybody that likes talking, actually for introverts, and I understand, but baby steps, don't be too hard with yourself. You can start with, it could be a sentence. You might not necessarily say too much, just a sentence. If you're the type that likes sending text, why not say what you want to say on the text message with your mouth to your spouse? Do you know there are times that our spouse or maybe your husband or your wife just wants to hear your voice? Text messages work. They work. But the non-verbal, form of expressions, maybe your gestures, your facial expression, they might not know how deep it is at times if we don't speak. Actually, I don't know about men. I'm not speaking for men now. For women, where you've bottled a lot of things in your heart and you're just sending. Do you know that there are some text messages that can also increase the tempo of things that are going on? Not everybody will even understand. So there are times we just have to speak. So the question you ask now, I think that it's just one day at a time. It might not be an immediate act, but you can start with, it could be a sentence, very simple. And if you know you are angry and you prefer sending a text message, please just ensure that you're in a right frame of mind before you speak, so that you don't react and say what you don't want to say. So Tolu, I would advise that you just, it could be maybe a decision or just a personality type. Don't force it, but make room for having conversations once in a while instead of always sending text messages, especially when they are very serious issues. I don't know if that helped for you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Queenette, you can help her. You can help me and answer her too, or if you have any other thing to say.
Okay, thank you so much. Amazing class. I was blessed by it. Okay, for the question that the person just asked now, I'm someone that expressed better by writing. I express myself better by writing. But the truth is, when we write, sometimes the feeling behind your letters might be read differently. The person reading your notes doesn't exactly know the feeling behind those notes. So they might mistake your message when it is written. What I do is, and another thing is, writing is actually therapy. What I do is, when I'm trying to cool off, I write in my book. I write, and when I'm done and I feel better, sometimes it's not even good to respond when you're tensed up, when you're angry, because you might pass out the wrong message or you might react in a way you regret. So what I do is, after writing, sometimes I'm inspired to tear it, sometimes I'm inspired to pass it on to my spouse, but I cool down and find time to talk it over. Or after passing the notes down, I still express myself vocally. It is better they understand the tone and the emotions behind those written words, because the person reading it will read it based on their own understanding. And like Tega taught, everybody has different ways of putting meanings to what they see or what they're experiencing. So your meaning might not be the meaning the other person is reading from your message. So it's better you express verbally. I don't know if this is helpful. Thank
Did
you.
that help? Did that help?
Yes, it did.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mrs. Queenette. Thank you so much for that. Let me see what message is coming into the chat box. You can, yeah, I said that. Lillian, thank you. I said that before. You can also read out what you wrote. That's why I said baby steps. It might not be immediate, but you can always read out what you wrote. It's good to have it written down like a guide on what you say. But I said instead of reacting, you might need to cool off if you're angry. But there are times when you talk about it, I feel writing works for me too. When I'm angry, I rather write down. But there are times when you say what's on your mind and spill it all out, you feel better. Maybe the pains you're experiencing in your body, in your throat, I don't know. There's just the way it makes you feel when you've said what's on your mind. Writing it down works, but I don't know if it solves it, totally. So there'll be a need to speak up. That's why they always tell people to speak up. Don't bottle it. So even if you've written a text message down, it works, but there are times you just need to speak about it. Because like Mrs. Queenette said, we all read meanings to things differently. We are not the same. No two persons. We can have things in common, but we are not the same. Our experiences are not the same. Our background, our childhood, our upbringing, our environment, our psychological experiences are not the same. So I want to say a big thank you to everyone for joining me tonight. Thank you. I so much appreciate it. And I'm glad that we all had one or two take home. I myself learned from the class, and I'll be glad to do this with you again by God's grace. So let's work together. If you're in need of clarity session, you can just click the link that you're seeing and we'll just get talking. Premarital issues, counseling, whatever it is, desire to know yourself more, to begin to fulfill purpose. You're an overwhelmed mom, that you need guidance, just let me know and I'll be glad to guide you. So I want to say a very big thank you once again. Thank you for doing this with me, and I hope to have you in the room some other time. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you very much. So this is me saying, have a wonderful and beautiful night. Thank you, Mrs. Lillian. Thank you, Mrs. Tommy. Thank you, Mr. Lamide. Thank you, Mr. Charles. Thank you, Miss Tola. Thank you so much, Mrs. Uzoma. Thank you so much. Have a great evening, everyone. Bye. Oh.